The Syrian war has become an example of the most massive and versatile use of anti-tank guided missiles, ATGM. This type of weapon has existed for several decades, constantly evolving and becoming more uncompromising and deadly. The Syrian Arab Army (SAA) recently received at its disposal Russian ATGMs of the Kornet-D model, which bring real horror to various militants in Syria. Hello, new soldier in touch! Today we will talk about the Kornet-D ATGM and why it became a hero of the Syrian war. So, let's start! Photographic materials have recently been published on the internet, which depict a pickup that previously belonged to one of the militant groups, destroyed by the Kornet. According to representatives of the group called Jaish al-Izza, their car was destroyed by the Kornet ATGM from a distance exceeding 7 kilometers. As a result of a direct hit on the car, the explosion of a guided anti-tank missile provoked the instant death of 4 militants who were in the car at that time. Islamists often claim that due to the incredible range of Kornet-guided missiles, militants often confuse its use by the Arab army with airstrikes. The fighters of terrorist groups are doing the right thing by being afraid of the Russian Kornet-D ATGMs, which were seen at the disposal of the SAA. Military political scientist Andrei Koshkin speaks with such an opinion. According to him, this ATGM is one of the most promising and powerful in the world. It uses technological systems that greatly simplify the defeat of virtually any target. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with the expert's opinion? Leave your comments below the video. The information provided by the Arab media reports that SAA soldiers are using a deeply modernized version of the Kornet-D complex. In terms of its tactical and technical characteristics, the complex surpasses the vast majority of foreign analogs. The expert notes that Russian systems allow firing 10 km to the target through the use of the FM-3 missile. The armor penetration of the projectile flying at high speed is about 1300 mm. This means that not only lightly armored vehicles are affected, but also heavier and more protected vehicles, tanks. In terms of armament, the Kornet has a fairly large arsenal, consisting of high-explosive, combat, thermobaric and tandem cumulative projectiles. This allows you to penetrate virtually any armor that appears in the field of view of the complex. Koshkin claims that the upgraded version of the Kornet-D allows for maximum efficiency. In addition to the fact that the Syrians are now well trained by Russian advisors located in the SAR, the complex is hit without a miss. An important point in combat for a complex of this type is the use of laser beam guidance, and not through wires. The latest versions of anti-tank systems even use the fire and forget scheme when hitting an enemy, because the target is captured and tracked automatically. So, more about the Kornet itself. ATGM 9K235 Kornet was developed by the Tool Instrument Design Bureau and is designed to destroy armored targets, including those with dynamic protection. The most characteristic difference of the new complex from the previous Fagot, Concourse and Metis was the guidance of the 9M133 guided missile along the laser beam and not along the wires, like the brothers. This skill made it possible to develop a modification with the letter D, with the ability to hit air targets at altitudes up to 9 km, at speeds up to 200.5 meters per second, and at ranges, as we noted above, up to 10 kilometers. When using the Kornet ATGM as a part of a combat module BMP-2, BMP-3, Tiger armored car, a paired launch scenario is implemented, as a result of which the active target protection systems do not have time to switch from one threat to another and lose to the missile. ATGM 9M133, the main missile of the Kornet complex, is equipped with a tandem warhead. The first charge destroys the elements of dynamic target protection, the second cumulative jet pieces the main armor and burns everything from the inside. It is located in a sealed transport and launch container (TLC). The shelf life of the product is 10 years. The long period is due to the use of exclusively polymers for the manufacture of TLC. How is this deadly product aimed at the target? The Kornet ATGM includes 9M163M1 launcher, which includes laser rangefinder, a unique sighting system for operation in optical and infrared modes, laser beam illumination device, automatic target tracking with guidance drives. The ATGM can work in conjunction with the far short-range reconnaissance station and its foreign and Russian counterparts. Kornet-D EM Export, as well as ATGM Kornet or Kornet-E, also Export, are equipped with a tandem cumulative, high-explosive or thermobaric warhead. The range of destruction, depending on the guided missile, is from 100 meters to 10 kilometers. The rocket moves along a spiral trajectory. Its guidance is carried out in an automatic teleoriented mode along the laser beam at the initial stage of flight. The system is protected from interference, including systems of optoelectronic countermeasures similar to Shtora-1. In service, more than 40,000 Kornet anti-tank systems have been sold worldwide to more than 13 countries near and far abroad. What do you think? Is it reasonable to sell weapons in such volumes, which can then be used against us? Leave your comments below the video. Combat use. If during the period of the Arab-Israeli wars, ATGMs were used exclusively against tanks, the time of the largest tank battles after the Second World War, then local conflicts of recent years have shown that ATGM-guided missiles are capable of hitting not only battle tanks and armored vehicles, but also concentrations of soldiers and air targets, for example helicopters. It was as a result of an attack by ISIS militants using an unidentified ATGM in Syria that a Russian Mi-24 combat helicopter was shot down. Both pilots died. Another episode is dated November 2016. In the province of Homs, another Mi-24 of the Russian Aerospace Forces was destroyed on landing. The crew has been evacuated. During the Lebanese-Israeli war in 2006, Hezbollah fighters actively used the Kornet-D ATGM and, according to their own data, destroyed 164 Israeli-made Merkava tanks. At the peak of the confrontation between the Iraqi army and ISIS militants, the terrorists managed to destroy almost 30 American-made Abrams main battle tanks with the help of Kornets. They also tried to hit the Russian-made Syrian T-90. Even despite the open hatches and the Shtora complex turned off, they did not succeed. Despite the occasional use of Russian Kornets by terrorists directly in Syria, most of them were captured in warehouses and occupied military bases of the SAA, the government troops and the formations supporting them remain the main users of these weapons. Terrorists, on the other hand, are more willing to use American-made TOW anti-tank systems. Separately, it is worth mentioning the most well-known facts of their use of Kornets by the Russian Special Operation Forces. As part of the already legendary many hours of battle of 16 Russian SOF fighters with more than 300 militants, anti-tank systems were used in the most active way to level the favorite tactics of the militants, the use of the so-called jihad mobiles, cars stuffed with the explosives and hand-with armor in the first wave. Special Forces soldiers who took part in the hostilities in Syria say the following about the combat use of the Kornet anti-tank missile system. Most often militants in Syria acted as follows. In front was a bulldozer sheathed with steel sheets, which can withstand a hit from an RPG-7, and behind it a Shahid mobile, stuffed with explosives, most often BMP-1. The operator from the first missile hit the BMP. The explosion was very strong. As a result, the bulldozer was neutralized, and about one-third of the 5-story building that stood 70 meters away simply collapsed. According to them, within an hour and a half, the crew managed to destroy the tank of militants and in the late afternoon Zu-23 on the car. I would like to say special thanks to our Kornet, which once again showed its best side. Often we just pray for this weapon, so to speak. The tactics of using ATGMs, anti-tank guided missiles, against waves of suicide bombers on cars, infantry fighting vehicles, bulldozers were carefully handed over to Syrian colleagues by Russian special forces. And already during the second capture of Palmyra, losses in manpower and equipment decreased significantly. Then there were Deir ez-Zor, Abu Kemal and other positional operations of the Syrian government forces with the support of military advisors from Russia. There the terrorists actually achieved nothing with their Shahids, and their transports were destroyed several kilometers away, bringing only the distant sound of an explosion. Conclusion: the use of ATGM Kornet in local conflicts is diverse and sometimes non-trivial in nature. ATGM versus tank. Guided anti-tank missiles are actively used by all parties to the conflict and often collide with their own compatriots in the country of origin. What to expect next will show the near future. That's all for today. If you liked our story, then do not be lazy to like and tell your friends about us. Discuss controversial issues with them and jointly suggest us new topics that you expect from us. Let's make this channel together. Until we meet again, friends. Narrated by Maxim Nikulin for New Soldier channel.